Hello everyone, and welcome to another online Grace Creative session. My name is Desiree and I'm the director of GRACE, which is Girls Rising Above Child Exploitation, and we're excited to be doing another online session with you today. Today what we're going to be doing is an acrylic chain pull. So I'm going to teach you how to make a beautiful creation like this. It's not as complicated as it looks. This is one of my favorite things to do with acrylic pouring. So I'm just going to start off by going over the materials that you need in order to do this project, and then we'll jump into the first step. So over here to my left, I have black and white acrylic paint. I have some Floetrol, which is a pouring medium. You can use Floetrol or any other kind of pouring medium. I've got some cups for mixing. I've got some popsicle sticks or stir sticks. I have 2 to 3 feet of chain. This could be like a necklace chain, or I just got this chain at Michael's. You're gonna need some gloves because we are gonna get pretty messy. You're gonna need a canvas. Today we're just doing a little 5x7, but you can also do an 8x10, really any size canvas with this project. And then over to my right, you're gonna have a couple like bigger cups for water, as well as mounting your canvas. Some napkins, and then last but not least, you are going to want to put down a tablecloth or covering over the area that you are going to be working with today, because this is a pretty messy project. So go ahead and set up your area. If you got a kit from us, you should have all of the materials that I just went over, and you'll just want to set out your table covering and then put everything on top of it. So go ahead and do that, and we will jump into the first step. Awesome. So the first step of this project is fairly simple. You're just going to grab your canvas and then one of these larger cups that I gave you. And you're just going to set this cup upside down and put your canvas on top of it like this so it balances. And then you'll go ahead and set that aside. For the next step of this project, you're going to need your Floetrol, as well as your black and white acrylic paint and your 2 smaller mixing cups. And what you're going to do is you're going to take those 2 cups and your Floetrol, and you're going to pour about 3/4 of the Floetrol mixture into one of the cups, and then you're going to pour the remainder into the other cup. The second cup, you don't really need that much Floetrol. If you look at the painting, there's a lot more black paint on this than white paint, so that's why we're using the majority of the Floetrol in 1 cup, because we just need a little smaller mixture of the white paint. So go ahead and divvy those out, and I will move into the next step. After you have your Floetrol separated into the 2 cups, you're gonna next take your acrylic paint that I gave you, and you're gonna mix the black paint into the cup with the larger amount of Floetrol. So we put 3/4 of the amount into 1 cup and then 1/4. So I'm just putting the black paint into the cup that has the larger amount of Floetrol. And then after you put that black paint in there, you're gonna mix it up. Now the key with acrylic pouring is, and the reason why we use Floetrol is so that we can actually pour the paint. So if you look at the paint when it's in the little cup, it's not really pourable because of the consistency. So the point of adding the Floetrol is, it's called a pouring medium, because once we mix it with the Floetrol, then it becomes pourable. So you know you have a good mixture when you stir it up and it kind of runs off of the stir stick. So, because that's how we know it's going to pour really well. And you want to make sure that it's mixed up really well, so I'll just show you. So it's kind of pouring off of the tip. Hopefully you can, I'll get a little bit closer to the camera so you can see it's kind of just flowing off of the end of the stir stick there. So that's how you know you've got a good consistency, you've got enough paint in there, it's pretty dark. So, and now you're just gonna do the same exact thing with the white. You might not use all of the paint, and that's totally fine. A good kind of rough ratio of paint to Floetrol is a 4-to-1 ratio. So that would be like 4 parts Floetrol and 1 part paint. So for example, if you have 4 ounces of Floetrol, then you would use 1 ounce of paint. So we can just kind of eyeball it. It doesn't need to be exact here, but just to kind of give you a rough idea of how much paint that you need. So same thing with this one, you're gonna mix it up really well here and then test it to see if you've got the pouring. And now it looks like mine might be a little bit thick. If you do end up with a mixture that's a little too thick, you can always add some water to it to make it a little bit of a thinner consistency. So just know that if it's super thick and it's dripping, you can always just add a little bit of water to get more of that consistency that you're looking for. So go ahead and complete your paint mixtures, and I will come back with the next step. Now that we've got our paint mixtures, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna grab the canvas that we set to the side and put it in front of yourself. I'm gonna go ahead and do my painting the long way, so you can do it diagonally or vertically. I'm gonna go ahead and do mine vertically because I want some tall flowers in mine. So you don't have to do it that way. That's just the way that I'm gonna do it. And you're gonna wanna put your gloves on next because we're gonna get a little bit messy here. So you're gonna put your gloves on, and now what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take that black mixture and you're just gonna pour it over the top of the canvas and try to get as much of the canvas covered as possible. So you should have enough paint here to cover the entire canvas, but you can just kind of pour it into a solid block here onto the canvas. And then after you've done that, you can pick it up and you're just gonna kind of tilt it side to side so that it's gonna start like dripping over the edges. That's okay because we're gonna wanna get total coverage over the whole canvas. So just take a few minutes here and pour your black paint over your canvas and get that full coverage. And then if you are having a hard time pouring, you can always use your fingers to kind of dab over the sides. We want this paint to be thick and wet. So yeah, you're just gonna work on getting it all covered. So you see I'm just kind of twisting it and using my finger to dab the sides so that I get it all covered. So just spend a couple of minutes doing that and I will come back with the next step. After you've got your canvas all covered with the black paint, you probably got paint on your fingers just like I did. So definitely gonna wanna use one of the napkins to try to get that paint off of your fingers. We're gonna be dealing with the white paint next. So clean your gloves off as best as you can. I tried to give you guys enough napkins to make sure that you can clean your gloves off. So yeah, dab all of that paint off. Throw that napkin aside, and next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the white paint and grab the chain that I gave you in your kit. And what you're gonna do next is you're going to dip the chain into the white paint here. So I'm just dropping the chain into the mixture of white paint until I have just a couple of inches sticking out here. You can use that popsicle stick to kind of press it down, make sure it gets all covered. And then what you're gonna do next is you're gonna pull the chain up and just use your fingers. I'll move this a little closer so we can see. Just put your fingers over the chain as you're taking it out, just to kind of strain any excess paint. You want the chain to be covered, but you don't want it to be dripping. So you're just gonna strain that chain through your fingers like this, and you'll notice that you get a little bit of paint kind of dripping off of the end here. You're gonna do that all the way down to the base until there's no more drips. And now what you're gonna do is you're gonna bring that chain over here in front of your canvas. And what I like to do is grab the end of the chain so that I have control over the chain. And now what you're gonna do is you're gonna set that chain down on the canvas slowly. And you're gonna kind of create like a zigzag pattern going across the top. So I'll go ahead and place mine, and then I will try to move this a little bit closer to the camera so you guys can see. So you're just gonna kind of zigzag that chain across the top, and then you're just gonna lay it flat. So just to show you guys a little bit closer here, I've got my chain laid on my canvas like this, a little straight line at the bottom. You're gonna set that down, and then after you have that done, you're just gonna pull straight down from the base of that chain. And what you're gonna notice is that white paint is gonna pull against the black paint. You're gonna end up with a flower pattern on your canvas. So I'm gonna pull this one down, and I'll show you what mine looks like here. I don't want to tilt it too much because I don't want that paint to run, but you can kind of see I've got now what looks like a flower on my canvas. So that is step one. And now what you're gonna do is repeat that process as many times as you would like. Now this is a smaller canvas, so you might not be able to do a ton of flowers, but I've got enough space here on either side to probably do 2 more smaller flowers. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna dip this chain in a cup of water to rinse it off. And then I'm gonna dry it off, and then I'm gonna repeat this process. So I will come back and show you 1 more flower chain pull, and then we'll be done for the day. So I just went through that process of cleaning off my chain so it's fresh again, and I also cleaned off my gloves so that I don't end up with black paint on my chain. So I'm just gonna show you guys one of these chain pulls one more time. So you're gonna again dip that chain into the white paint all the way down. And use that popsicle stick to push the chain down. And then you're gonna slowly pull that chain out of the paint and use your finger to strain the chain and get the excess paint off of the chain. And since this is a smaller canvas, you might not need to cover the entire length of the chain. If we were using a bigger canvas, you definitely would. And again, you're just gonna grab the chain by the end here, so you have more control over where you're gonna lay it down. Now I'm just going to do another zigzag pattern across my canvas here. And there's all kinds of different shapes of flowers that you can do. If you research this chain pull technique online, you can get a ton of tips and tricks for doing this. But again, I've just laid mine down here like so on the canvas. Wish I had a little bit of a better camera angle here. But now that I've got it laid down, I'm just going to slowly pull down from the base here. Try to keep that canvas as straight as possible. And it's just gonna pull that white paint down. You're gonna end up with some pretty cool looking flowers. kind of like abstract, but I'll show you what mine's looking like so far. So I'm gonna go through this process one more time and I will show you my final product. So after you've done a few rounds of the chain pull, you might hopefully have something that looks something like this. I'm gonna try to come a little bit closer. I can't tilt it too much because my paint's gonna run over, but I went over a couple of spots just because I wanted more flowers on mine. So it just kind of gives you an idea of what it ends up looking like. So that completes our Grace Creative session for today. The final step of this project is just to let it sit and dry, and because this paint is super thick and wet, it does take between 24 and 48 hours to dry. So you're gonna wanna just let it sit in that spot for quite some time. But yeah, we hope that you enjoyed doing this session with us today. Write us and let us know how you liked this session. If you were able to do it successfully, send us some pictures of your creations and we will post them to our social media account. Yeah, and keep in mind that we are still looking for Grace 2020 donors. So if you know anyone that would like to support our cause and helping girls that have been victims of child exploitation and are at risk, they can help our cause by sponsoring us for $20 a month for 20 months in 2020. So again, thank you so much for being a part of our Grace Creative sessions, and we'll see you next time.